Alright, it is time to rank another soundtrack, and this week I'm going to be doing Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. As always, I'm just doing stage themes, so there are just the 5 stage songs in the game. I didn't include the underground, which you only see in certain spots throughout the game, as like a little bonus shortcut through the stage. And it's just a generic riff in a short loop, so not really a whole lot to talk about. So again, just the 5 stage themes. I'll preface this like I normally do by saying that this list is just strictly my opinion, completely subjective, so feel free to leave your thoughts, your opinions, your ranking in the comments. I encourage discussion and debate. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the list. Number 5, Underwater. This is kind of a stripped down reimagining of piecemealed parts of the original Super Mario Bros. Overworld theme. It actually starts off with the crescendo section and then segues into a bridge section to calm it down. It really doesn't seem to make sense to rank such an iconic theme so low on this list, especially one that I ranked at the top of the original game's ranking, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it. But it's not an exact duplication of the song, the notes just feel a little flatter here, and while I shouldn't dock it points for unoriginality and rank these on its own merits, at the same time, the entirety of the rest of the soundtrack is made up of original material, so I kinda look at this one as a bit of a cop-out. Number 4, World 4 Overworld. I have mixed feelings on this one. On one hand, I feel like this is one of those songs we've heard 100 times on cartoons or TV in general, where Asia is the setting, it's such a stock, obvious choice of tone in the riff itself. But on the other hand, it's produced so well, especially for the Game Boy. The tonality is so clean and smooth, and for 8-bit emulation, it sounds pretty authentic, about as much as it probably can. At the end of the day, I like it for what it is, even if there's a little stigma attached to it. Number 3, Fortress. There's not a lot to the song. The main riff repeats a few times with subtle little differences and a note here, a note there, and then the loop ends right after with a descending chord progression, and we're back to the beginning. It's simple, but definitely effective. It sounds haunting as fuck, especially with the pulsing keyboards in the background that become more prominent when the lead riff fades out at the end of the loop. Those background pulses also sound quite trippy when listening on headphones because of the way the track is panned. It weaves back and forth from the left to right speaker on every note. It's definitely different from listening through the physical Game Boy. Number 2, World 1 Overworld. This is about as good of a song choice for an early in the game overworld theme that you could think of. It's so full of energy and upbeat, it sounds like an early 20th century ragtime tune. It's very busy, there are notes out the yin-yang and all over the place, and the bass track adds just enough to fill it out in the background. My only minor gripe, I guess, is that the song doesn't go anywhere. It's really just the same 4 measures with a few different variations all throughout the song. And I know that just about every song in the soundtrack is like this to some degree. They're all pretty underwritten and lack sections. But I think this song suffers from that more than any of the others, just because it feels like it's building to something else that doesn't come. And the other songs do at least change direction at one point, even if it's briefly. But like I said, this is a minor gripe. It doesn't ruin the song or anything. I just wish that there was a little more to it, and it may have gotten the top spot. That being said, it's still catchy as all hell and doesn't get old. And number 1, World 2 Overworld. Speaking of catchy, man, what an earworm this one is. It literally has been in my head intermittently for the last few days since I started putting this list together. The lead riff is so hooky, and the way the bass dances with it in the background and then comes out to the forefront when the lead takes a break between measures works perfectly. Much like World 1 Overworld, it's too bad that this doesn't have any other sections, but also similar to World 1, the repeating riff does have variations in the notes to keep it from being repetitive. Plus there's a turnaround at the end of the loop. It was a pretty tough call between this and World 1, but I gave this one the nod pretty much based on the fact that it's not hurt as much from the sparse arrangement, and that it hasn't left my head in the last few days without me wanting to get it out. So that is it for this list. Here is a quick recap. Number 5, Underwater. Number 4, World 4 Overworld. Number 3, Fortress. Number 2, World 1 Overworld. And number 1, World 2 Overworld. So that is it for this list. What do you think? What do you agree or disagree with? What are your thoughts? How would you rank this? Whatever you want to say, leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next ranking.